In the middle of my engagement dinner, I got, "Go to the bathroom now, don't look back." The champagne glasses clinked around me as I smiled at my fiancé, James. We'd been dating for 3 years, and tonight was our engagement celebration at 11 Madison Park, one of New York's most exclusive restaurants. His parents had flown in from California, and my closest friends surrounded us at the elegantly decorated table. To Rebecca and James, my best friend Olivia toasted, "May your marriage be as perfect as you both pretend to be on Instagram." Everyone laughed, including James's father, a stern banking executive who rarely showed emotion. The restaurant buzzed with quiet conversation and the gentle clink of silverware against fine china. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan sparkled against the night sky, a perfect backdrop for what should have been the happiest evening of my life. I felt my phone vibrate in my clutch. Normally, I'd ignore it during such an important dinner, but something made me check. The message was from a number I didn't recognize. "Go to the bathroom now. Don't look back." My heart skipped. Who would send this? Was it a prank? A wrong number? But the urgency in those capitalized words made my hands start trembling. I looked up, and everyone was still smiling, chatting, completely unaware that my world had just tilted on its axis. "Everything okay, babe?" James asked, his hand covering mine. His dark eyes, the ones I thought I knew so well, searched my face. "Just need to freshen up," I managed to say, my voice surprisingly steady despite the adrenaline now coursing through my veins. "Be right back." I stood up, smoothing down my crimson dress, and walked calmly toward the restrooms. Every step felt like I was moving through molasses. "Don't look back," the message had said. So I didn't. The restaurant's bathroom was a marvel of marble and gold fixtures, thankfully empty. I locked myself in the furthest stall and stared at my phone, debating whether to respond. Before I could decide, another message appeared. "Are you alone? I need to show you something about James. You're making a terrible mistake." My throat tightened. What could this person possibly know? James and I had been together for 3 years. He was successful, kind, and adored by everyone who met him. We were perfect together, at least that's what everyone said. "Who are you?" I typed back. "Someone who knows the real James Edwards. Check your email." With shaking fingers, I opened my inbox. There was a new message from an anonymous address with the subject line, "What your fiancé doesn't want you to know." I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. Once I opened this, there would be no going back. Whatever was inside could change everything. The bathroom door opened, and I heard heels clicking against the marble floor. "Rebecca, are you okay in there?" It was Olivia. "I'm fine," I called out, trying to sound normal. "Just a work email I needed to check. I'll be right out." "Well, hurry up. They're about to bring out the special dessert James ordered." Her footsteps receded, and I was alone again. With a deep breath, I opened the email. Inside were screenshots of text conversations between James and someone saved in his phone as K. Their exchanges were intimate, romantic, the kind of messages he used to send to me when we first started dating. The most recent was from earlier today. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Just one more night of pretending, then we can be together for real." My stomach lurched. Tomorrow was when James and I were supposed to fly to the Bahamas for a pre-wedding getaway. The timestamps matched up with times he told me he was working late or at the gym. There were photos too. James with a stunning blonde woman I'd never seen before, looking at her the way he used to look at me. Another text from the unknown number. Keep scrolling. There's more. I continued reading the email. Bank statements showing large transfers to an offshore account. A lease agreement for an apartment in Brooklyn I knew nothing about. And most damning of all, a conversation with his father. "Dad, I know what I'm doing. Rebecca's family connections will secure the merger. Once we're married and the deal goes through, I can figure out an exit strategy." The bathroom spun around me. James was only with me because of my father's position as CEO of a rival investment firm. The merger talks had been going on for months, and I had been the one who introduced James to my father in the first place. I thought it was a happy coincidence that our relationship could help both our families' businesses. How could I have been so blind? Another message appeared. Meet me at the back exit in 5 minutes if you want the rest of the proof. He's planning something worse than just cheating. I splashed cold water on my face and stared at my reflection. The woman looking back at me had perfectly styled hair, expertly applied makeup, and eyes now hollow with betrayal. 3 years of my life, all based on a lie. I walked back to the table, my mind racing with what to do next. Everyone looked up expectantly as I approached. There she is! James stood and pulled out my chair. We were about to send a search party. Sorry, I mumbled, taking my seat. The waiter arrived with a spectacular dessert arrangement, in the center of which sat a small velvet box. Another ring? My engagement ring was already on my finger, a flawless 3-carat diamond that now felt like it was burning into my skin. I know we already did the official proposal, James announced to the table, but I wanted to give Rebecca something special tonight to commemorate our engagement dinner. He reached for the box, but I put my hand over his, stopping him. Actually, I said, my voice growing stronger with each word, I need some air. Would you join me outside for a moment, James? Confusion flickered across his face, but he nodded. Of course, babe. As we walked toward the front of the restaurant, I made a split-second decision and veered toward the back exit instead. James followed, bewildered. Rebecca, what's going on? The exit is the other way. I know, I said, pushing open the door that led to the alleyway behind the restaurant. But I think we need to talk about Catherine. His face went pale. Who? The woman you're planning to see tomorrow while we're supposed to be in the Bahamas. The woman you've been seeing behind my back for... How long exactly? James's expression shifted from confusion to calculation in an instant. It was like watching a mask fall away, revealing the stranger beneath. Who told you this nonsense? His voice was cold now, nothing like the warm tone he used at the table. Does it matter? Is it true? Before he could answer, a figure stepped out of the shadows at the end of the alley. A woman in a trench coat, her blonde hair gleaming under the single security light. Hello, James, she said. I think it's time we all had a conversation, don't you? Catherine stepped forward, her face now visible in the dim light. She was beautiful, but her eyes were red-rimmed as if she'd been crying. I'm sorry to do this, she said, looking at me. But you needed to know before it was too late. James lunged toward her. What the hell are you doing here? We had a deal. A deal? I echoed, feeling like I was watching a play where everyone knew their lines except me. Catherine's gaze hardened as she looked at James. The deal's off. I can't do this anymore, not after what I found. She turned to me and pulled out her phone. Rebecca, James isn't just cheating on you. He and his father are planning to use your marriage to orchestrate a hostile takeover of your father's company. Once the merger is complete, they'll strip the assets and fire most of the employees, including your father. My head spun as pieces clicked into place. James's sudden interest in my father's business operations, the questions about corporate structure, his insistence on a prenup that included unusual clauses about business assets. That's ridiculous, James snarled, but I could see the truth in his eyes. She's just jealous, Rebecca. Catherine and I dated briefly before you and I got serious. She's never gotten over it. Catherine let out a harsh laugh. Is that what you're going with? Show her your phone then. Let her see our conversations from this morning. James's face contorted with rage. This is a private matter between Rebecca and me. You need to leave, now. I'm not going anywhere, Catherine said firmly. And neither is Rebecca until she knows everything. She handed me her phone, showing me more screenshots. this time of emails between James and his father, detailing their plan. The language was cold, calculating, discussing me as an asset to be acquired rather than a person to be loved. "We've been together for over a year," Catherine explained, her voice softening. "He told me he was only with you for business reasons, that once the merger was complete, he'd leave you and we could be together publicly. I believed him until I found these emails. That's when I realized he was using both of us." James's facade completely crumbled. "You stupid bitch," he hissed at Catherine. "You've ruined everything." His words hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't the man I thought I knew. This wasn't the man I'd agreed to marry. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "How long have you been planning this?" James straightened his tie, somehow regaining his composure. When he spoke, his voice was eerily calm. "Does it matter? Business is business, Rebecca. Your father would understand that better than anyone." "My father would never destroy someone's life for profit," I shot back. "Wouldn't he?" James smirked. "Ask him about the Wilson merger in 2018. Ask him how many families lost their homes after he gutted their pension fund." I staggered backward, his words knocking the wind out of me. My father had always been my hero, the man who taught me right from wrong. Could James be telling the truth about him too? "Don't listen to him," Catherine urged. "He's trying to manipulate you, just like he's done to both of us for months." The back door of the restaurant burst open, and Olivia appeared, concern etched on her face. "Rebecca, what are you doing out here? Everyone's waiting." She stopped short when she saw Catherine. "What's going on?" Before I could answer, James's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his expression darkened further. "Dad," he answered, "I'll call you back." But whatever his father said made James go rigid. "What do you mean the SEC is there? That's impossible. Those records were secure." He listened for a moment longer, his face draining of all color. "I'll be right there." He hung up and stared at Catherine with pure hatred. "What did you do?" She smiled coldly. "I didn't just find the emails about Rebecca. I found everything, James. The insider trading, the offshore accounts, the falsified earnings reports. While you were in there proposing, federal agents were serving a warrant at your office." James lunged at Catherine, but I stepped between them. "Don't you dare," I said, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. He looked at me with contempt. "You're making a big mistake. My father and I can still protect your family's company. Without us, you're nothing." "I'd rather be nothing than be your wife," I replied, twisting my engagement ring off my finger and throwing it at his feet. "Go handle your father's mess. We're done." For a moment, James looked like he might say something else. Then, with a final venomous glare at both of us, he turned and sprinted down the alley toward the street. "Should we go after him?" Olivia asked, still trying to make sense of what she'd witnessed. "No," I said, feeling strangely calm despite the hurricane of emotions inside me. "The authorities will handle him." Catherine picked up the discarded ring. "I'm sorry it had to happen this way. I only found out the full extent of their plan yesterday. I couldn't let them destroy your family." "Why?" I asked. "Why help me when you were involved with him too?" She looked down. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything to men like James and his father. They did the same thing to my family's business 3 years ago. I only got close to James to find evidence of their illegal activities. I never expected to find you caught in the same trap." Olivia put her arm around my shoulders. "What do you want to do, Becca? Everyone's still inside waiting." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the evening pressing down on me. My perfect engagement, my perfect fiancé, my perfect future, all of it had been an elaborate illusion. "I need to call my father," I said finally. "Then I think I owe our guests an explanation." Catherine handed me her business card. "I've collected everything I've found. When you're ready, call me. The SEC will want to talk to you too." I nodded, taking the card. "Thank you. I know that couldn't have been easy." Doing the right thing rarely is, she replied with a sad smile. As Catherine walked away, Olivia squeezed my shoulder. Are you okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. We walked back into the restaurant together. The table full of guests looked up expectantly, their faces bright with celebration for a wedding that would never happen, a future that had evaporated in the span of 15 minutes. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Just got a call from the SEC. Is James with you? Don't tell him anything. Coming to get you now. So James had been telling the truth about at least one thing. My father wasn't the man I thought he was either. The realization settled over me like a heavy cloak. How many other truths would I discover before this night was over? As I approached the table of smiling faces, I realized this was just the beginning of a much longer, more painful journey. My engagement might be over, but the real story was just beginning to unfold. I have something to tell you all, I announced, my voice steady despite everything. There won't be a wedding. The shocked gasps and confused murmurs washed over me as I stood there, finally seeing clearly for the first time in 3 years. Sometimes, the most important messages come at the most unexpected moments, like a text in the middle of your engagement dinner telling you to go to the bathroom and not look back. The next morning, I woke up in Olivia's guest bedroom, my eyes swollen from crying. My phone showed 47 missed calls from James, his parents, and reporters who had somehow gotten my number. The story had broken overnight. Financial empire heir arrested in fraud investigation. I ignored them all and called the only person I needed to speak with, my father. Rebecca, he answered on the first ring. Are you safe? Where are you? I'm at Olivia's, I said, my voice hoarse. Dad, we need to talk. About James, about the Wilson merger, about everything. There was a long pause. Yes, we do. Can I come get you? An hour later, we sat in his corner office overlooking Central Park. The man across from me looked older than he had just days ago, his shoulders hunched under the weight of secrets. James wasn't lying about the Wilson merger, was he? I asked directly. My father sighed. No, but it's not as simple as he made it sound. Then explain it to me. He told me how Wilson's company had been cooking their books for years. When my father discovered the fraud during merger talks, he had two choices: report it and watch thousands of employees lose their jobs immediately, or proceed with the merger and try to salvage what he could. I thought I could save more jobs than I did, he admitted. The pension fund was already depleted when we acquired them. I've spent years trying to make it right. Well, why didn't you tell me any of this? I wanted to protect you from the ugliness of business. He rubbed his temples. I never imagined you'd become a pawn in someone else's game. What happens now with James and his father? They're facing serious charges: securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy. It's not looking good for them. I nodded, processing this. And our company? We'll survive. The merger is off, obviously. There will be questions, investigations. It won't be easy. A thought struck me. Dad, I want to help. He looked surprised. What do you mean? I have a business degree I've never used. I've been playing at being a socialite while people like James thought they could use me. That ends today. For the first time that morning, my father smiled. I'd like that. As we talked strategy, my phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. Coffee? I have more information you should know. We met at a quiet cafe in the West Village. Catherine looked different in daylight, more approachable, less like the mysterious figure from the alley. How are you holding up? She asked as I slid into the booth. Processing, I admitted, still trying to separate the lies from the truth. She nodded sympathetically. That's why I wanted to meet. There's something you should see. Catherine slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos of James with different women at different events, all looking remarkably similar to me. All daughters or sisters of business targets. This is his pattern, she explained. You weren't the first. His father identifies acquisition targets, and James forms strategic relationships. My stomach turned. How did you get all this? After they destroyed my family's company, I took a job at their firm, using my mother's maiden name. I've been gathering evidence for years, waiting for the right moment. She hesitated. I know we met under terrible circumstances, but I'd like to help you navigate what comes next. These men hurt both of us. Maybe together we can make sure they don't hurt anyone else. I studied her face, looking for deceit, but finding only determination. What did you have in mind? 6 months later, I stood before a packed auditorium at Columbia Business School. The audience, mostly young women, watched attentively as I shared my story. Financial abuse doesn't always look like someone stealing your credit card, I explained. Sometimes it wears a designer suit and offers you a diamond ring. After the scandal broke, Catherine and I had founded an organization helping women identify and escape financial manipulation. The James Edwards case had become a cautionary tale, generating national conversation about how wealthy predators weaponize relationships for business gain. The most dangerous predators don't look dangerous, I continued. They look like the perfect catch. After my talk, a young woman approached me. My fiancé keeps pushing me to add him to my trust fund accounts, she whispered. After hearing your story, I'm starting to question everything. This was why we did this work. One woman at a time, we were making a difference. Outside, Catherine waited with coffee. Great job in there. Ready for our meeting with the prosecutors? James and his father were headed to trial, and Catherine and I were key witnesses. The case had expanded beyond fraud to include multiple instances of corporate espionage and blackmail. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied. My phone rang, my father calling from the office where I now worked 3 days a week, learning the business from the ground up. How'd the talk go? He asked. Really well. I think we reached some people. I'm proud of you, Rebecca. Not many people could take something so painful and turn it into something that helps others. His words warmed me. Our relationship had changed, more honest, more equal. We were rebuilding our family business with transparency and ethics at its core. As Catherine and I walked to meet the prosecutors, I reflected on how differently things might have gone if I'd ignored that text at my engagement dinner. Sometimes the messages that change our lives arrive at exactly the right moment, even if it doesn't feel that way at the time. My engagement ring was long gone, sold at auction with proceeds going to our foundation. The life I'd planned had shattered, but from those pieces, I'd built something stronger, a life of purpose, honest relationships, and the knowledge that I was exactly where I needed to be. The bathroom text that had seemed so disruptive had actually been my rescue. It had forced me to see the truth when I was surrounded by lies, to find strength when I felt most vulnerable, and to discover who I really was when everything familiar was stripped away. As we approached the courthouse steps, reporters called my name. 6 months ago, I would have hidden my face. Today, I stood tall. Ms. Mitchell, do you have a comment about the new evidence against James Edwards? I exchanged a look with Catherine before turning to the cameras. Only this. The truth always finds its way to the surface. No matter how perfectly crafted the lie, no matter how much power is behind it, the truth will eventually emerge, and when it does, be ready to stand in it. The reporters shouted more questions, but we continued up the steps. There was work to do, not just in the courtroom, but beyond it. A community to build, women to empower, and a future to create that was far more meaningful than the one I'd nearly settled for. That urgent text message hadn't been the end of my story. It had been the beginning.